All right, so President Trump's got everyone talking again.
Yeah.
With these tariffs he's got planned
Right.
for Wednesday, April 2nd.
Big day, huh?
He's calling it Liberation Day.
Catchy.
It is catchy.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been going through a lot of reporting from Politico, mainly to see what's really going on with this whole thing.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating situation.
And what we're trying to do for you today in this deep dive is like cut through all the noise and get a better handle on what this could actually mean.
Yeah.
And what the impacts could be.
Yeah, I think that's really key, right? Because you see the headlines.
You do.
And Liberation Day, it sounds
Positive.
very positive, right? It sounds like a big win for America.
Freedom, exactly.
It's like a 4th of July kind of thing.
Yeah, but then when you start digging into, what people are saying,
Right.
what the analysts are saying, there are some warning signs
Oh, yeah.
that maybe things aren't as straightforward.
Yeah, there are definitely some red flags.
Yeah. And so one of the main concerns that keeps coming up is about inflation.
Makes sense.
Historically, when you put tariffs on imports, that tends to make things more expensive for businesses.
Right, because they're having to pay more for the goods that they're bringing in.
Exactly. And then those costs a lot of times get passed on to us, the consumers.
Yeah, so you and me, we end up paying more for stuff at the store.
And that's not the only worry.
Yeah.
Right? There's also this concern about businesses that rely on imported goods or, that export to countries that might decide to retaliate with their own tariffs.
Oh, absolutely. That's a huge consideration. You've got these global supply chains.
Yeah.
And these tariffs could really disrupt them.
Throw a wrench in the whole system.
Exactly. And then you've got the potential strain on relationships with important trading partners like Canada and Mexico.
Which are, our neighbors.
Right next door.
Key allies.
Yeah, and those relationships are already, they've had their ups and downs. So adding this layer of tariffs could make things even more complicated.
And it's interesting, too, because the skepticism around these tariffs isn't just coming from the usual, the opposition to President Trump.
Right, not just the Democrats.
Right. You're seeing some never-Trump conservatives who are also starting to raise some eyebrows and say, wait a minute, is this really the right move?
Yeah, I think that speaks to a broader unease about how this could all play out.
Yeah.
Economically and politically.
And then on top of all that.
Oh, yeah, there's more.
Politico is reporting that there's like a surprising amount of uncertainty, even among people in Trump's inner circle.
Really?
Like they're saying that big players like Vice President J.D. Vance, Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, even some cabinet officials.
Wow.
They're still in the dark about the specifics of these tariffs.
That close to when they're supposed to take effect? That's kind of wild.
I know it is, and it's like less than a week away.
It is. Yeah, and that lack of clarity so close to the deadline, it raises all kinds of questions about whether this whole thing is really ready to go.
And an anonymous Trump ally described the situation as chaotic.
Chaotic.
Well,
that's not a word you want to hear.
Not when you're talking about something this big.
No, not at all.
And apparently even really basic stuff. Like which goods are going to be hit with tariffs, which countries are going to be targeted, and at what rates, those things still haven't been fully figured out.
Yeah, you can see how that would be unsettling.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're a business and you're trying to plan ahead.
Yeah, how do you even know what to prepare for?
Right.
You're just kind of stuck waiting to see what happens.
Yeah, so it's almost like you've got this split, right?
Yeah.
Where you have someone like Commerce Secretary Lutnick, who's coming out strong saying April 2nd is going to be a historic day for American workers.
Optimistic.
Very optimistic.
Painting a rosy picture.
But then you have Senator John Kennedy, Republican senator, and he's expressing these concerns that if these tariffs do lead to inflation and a recession,
which could very well happen,
right, that it could really hurt the Republican Party in the 2026 midterms.
And potentially even cut a Trump presidency short.
Which is a pretty strong statement.
Yeah, that's not something you hear every day.
And so it's like even within the party, there's this disagreement.
Yeah, it's a real internal conflict.
Yeah, and what makes all of this even more interesting is how these tariffs are being justified.
Right.
Like the idea of reciprocal tariffs keeps coming up.
Which on the surface sounds sort of fair, right?
Yeah, like, you lower your trade barriers and we'll lower ours.
Tit for tat kind of thing.
Right, exactly. But when you actually look at what's being reported,
it's not so clear cut.
It's not at all. It seems like there are inconsistencies in how this is being applied.
Yeah, and there have been shifts and changes in the policy.
Which makes it really hard to figure out what the strategy actually is.
Exactly. And if you can't figure out the strategy,
you can't predict how other countries are going to react.
Right, because they're trying to figure it out, too.
So essentially, you have this policy that President Trump is calling Liberation Day.
A big positive step.
A huge win for America, supposedly. But at the same time, you have all these people raising concerns.
From all sides.
Yeah, about the potential downsides, the economic risks,
The political fallout.
the impact on international relations, and even just the lack of clarity about what's actually going to happen.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack.
It really is.
And it shows just how complicated these things are.
Yeah. I mean, trade policy, it's not simple.
It's not.
And it has so many ripple effects.
Absolutely. One change can impact so many different things.
So for you listening out there, given everything we've just discussed,
Right. All the different angles.
what would you be watching for?
In the next few months.
Yeah, like what are the key things that you would look at?
To really understand how these Liberation Day tariffs are playing out.
Are they actually going to be liberating?
Or are they going to lead to something else
A
entirely?
thing we haven't even thought of yet.
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
And I don't think anyone has the answer just yet.
So much to think about.
Definitely.
Well, all right. That's our deep dive for today. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.
Until then.